Hello, friends. On today's episode, I'm speaking with another icon in the fitness industry, Rachel Cosgrove. I really don't need to give her an introduction. If you're listening to this podcast, you probably know who she is, but she's the co-owner of Results Fitness, along with her husband and business partner, Alan Cosgrove, who I just had on the podcast a few episodes ago. They've been running Results Fitness for over 21 years. They have Results Fitness University, where they work with folks like you. and so this is a great conversation. It's really a shame I haven't had Rachel on the podcast sooner. I'm beating myself up about it because I already want to have her back to continue our conversation. She's just so passionate and committed and articulate when it comes to how to run a fitness business that this conversation is just pure gold. There were so many takeaways at one point in the conversation. I actually had to take notes. And I don't normally do that. I usually have a pretty good memory for what guests are saying, but I had to start writing it down because there were so many good things that I wanted to highlight for all of you. So we talk obviously about how Results Fitness has been navigating COVID. There's a lot of great lessons learned there from Rachel. We talk a little bit about how building a team works at Results Fitness and how she recommends other fitness businesses build their team back up if you're building up after COVID, which we're doing at Mark Fisher Fitness right now. So that question was selfish and for me. We also talk about other things that I know Rachel is really passionate about, like, driving your numbers by the business and the systems and the processes that she uses at Results Fitness. We also talk about partnerships. It's a topic that's come up a bunch on this podcast, in part because Mark and I and Pete and Eric and my whole network, my whole group is full of a lot of partnerships, and they seem to be really common in the fitness industry. So I asked Rachel about her and Alan, and she gives some really candid advice about how to navigate partnerships if you're going to be both personal and professional partners. And so it's a really great conversation. Get your notepad ready, my friends, and let's dive in and do this. Hello, fitness business nerds. What's up? Welcome to another edition of Business for Unicorns podcast. Today, my guest is Rachel Cosgrove, and she really needs no more introduction than what I already gave. So let's just welcome her to the virtual stage. Welcome, Rachel.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for being on the podcast for the first time. And frankly, it should have been sooner. I don't know what took me so long to get you on this podcast, but thank you so much for doing it.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, I know. I spoke to your husband and business partner, Alan, a few weeks ago. So I'm sure hopefully he gave you a heads up for what's in store. But with many of my guests, a little bit. With many of my guests, I'm starting just by talking about where we are in this moment of COVID. And I know, you both have a gym in California and work with gym owners around the world. And here we are in the middle of June. And at least in the US, it seems like the people I'm talking to, in my experience at MFF in New York, is that many people are riding this reopening wave. And for some people, it's like a reopening tsunami. And for some people, it's like a reopening trickle. And so just what's your experience been at Results, and what are you hearing from the gym owners that you work with?
It's definitely been different in every state, right? In the United States, and we work with people in other countries too. In every country, it's just, and seeing the difference from people who got open early, so like we have a gym in Utah who they were only closed 6 weeks. And so they're back to pre-pandemic numbers, like things in their gym are, like they got back pretty quick because they were able to, their clients weren't out for very long. But all of us pivoted, right? I think we all shifted to online. And so the cool part now as we're all getting reopened and figuring out our new ways is we have all new businesses. We have, we've reinvented. We have other things that we've added to our business. And so with us now, we've been reopened since March 16th. So they opened us at 25% capacity, and people in California are still real hesitant. So it's been more of a trickle for us initially. And so, it's definitely not like a light switch where you're like, doors are open. The cool part was because we have had our business for 21 years and we had such a tight culture and community it was an entire year we were shut down. We actually when we shut down, we were at about 250 active clients. And we still had, when we reopened a year later, 130 sticking with us.
Wow.
So it's a big drop and it's a lot to make up. But I'm grateful for those loyal clients who literally stuck with us, and it said a lot for our community, from when everything shut down and our clients were just like, okay, what are we doing? And we pivoted to online and did Zoom classes and, sent them out. We actually onboarded them all to a whole new platform, an app that we, put into place and got videos shot and got them all up on that. And then over the year, we got reopened for like 3 weeks, and that was fun. Everyone came in and we did our thing for 3 weeks, and then we got shut back down again.
Yep.
And they
Yep.
literally were just like, what are we doing now? What are we doing now? So, then it was back to, we went to the park for a little while. And so it's just now you're looking back at the year, and as we're getting reopened, all those clients that stuck with us and they've been clients of ours, for a long time. And it's when you realize like the power of what you have and the community and the culture, and that, people are a part of something bigger than paying their gym membership dues. It's, you see other people upset, like on the internet, like my gym charged me and I can't believe it, and then we have our clients who are like, what can we do? We had one of our clients leaving us like cash, like she'd come by and like leave cash at the front desk. And I'm like, Lisa, stop. Like, what are you doing? She's like, just do something nice for yourself. Like they just want us they want us to be okay. And so, so now as we're reopening, it was a trickle. This past week, this week is supposed to be, where we're getting, I guess, reopened, which is supposed to be where there's no limitations on anything. And, but we're still waiting to hear what exactly that means. So that's supposed to be tomorrow, but we don't know yet.
Yeah.
But I'm already feeling like a surge of clients are coming in. Like this last week, we've had a really busy schedule of new client strategy sessions. So my main word has just been patience, just patience, and then continuing to work with other gym owners in other states that are there. Like you said, a lot of them, they're at a point now where, this is truly our time as gym owners. I feel like, once you do get reopened wherever you're at, and once the people in your community do get to a point where they feel comfortable leaving their homes, and, if vaccinations are, happening or whatever's making them feel safe to come out of their homes, then what we're seeing in the states that have been open for a longer period of time, that people are like, get me in the gym and get me, a part of a community, a small gym that, that's going to, I don't want to go back to the big box gym. I've heard a lot of that, I'm never going back to, whatever it might be, LA Fitness or, but I want to take care of myself. And I think a lot of people need that after this, there's so much, not just physical, but mental health that I feel like it truly is our time right now. And it's, just kind of patience is the word, just, it's coming.
Yeah, I think it's beautifully said. And I think it's a great reminder to, all our listeners and viewers that really this moment still requires patience. We're not done.
Not done.
We're not done, and I think it's so beautiful what you shared there about your clients. You've built such a strong, supportive community and it's so beautiful to hear stories like that of them wanting to like just give you money and make sure you're okay. And we had a lot of that too. We added a membership with our online membership where people could pay more just to like help us out, and so many people did. Hundreds of people. It's so heartwarming that through a crisis like this, that community still really matters. And so I love that you share that. We're going to talk about COVID for like one more second. I promise we're going to move on. But I want to dig a little deeper, because one of the questions I'm hearing the most right now from gym owners that I'm working with, and I imagine you're the same, is how do I convince my community, the people in my area, that it's safe? How do I have that dialogue with them to let them know all the things we're doing to make sure they're comfortable coming back in, and if they're not, that we're at least in dialogue about when they're going to be comfortable to come in. So what are you seeing that's working right now? What are you seeing that's working right now in terms of convincing a population that it's okay to return to the gym? And you can also share what's not working if you have any of those. But what are you seeing?
It's a hard one. It's, we've definitely seen that where we've called clients, past clients, like, cause of course, you can start going through your past client list and you're like, hey, come on back, let's go, gym's open, we're good, and they're like, oh no, I'm not ready. And like, wait, what do you mean you're not ready? Like, we got air filtration systems running in every room. Everyone's wearing masks, like they're socially distanced. Like, you are not getting COVID in my gym. Don't worry. It's not happening. And still, we've had clients that have said, I'm not ready yet. I'm just not ready. And I think we all have our different experiences. Everybody's had their, through this whole thing. We just have to respect that. And again, the word patience comes up, because I think some clients are not going to be ready yet. And I think you could do everything you want to make it as safe as possible. And, even though they trust you and they still, whether they have, people in their life they're worried about, or, we've all had different dialogue filling our heads, depending on what you're listening to and who you're listening to, and how you're feeling. And so I think the main thing we can do is just continue to reach out, show them we care, continue to build trust, let them know we're here for them, and just make sure you have a regular follow-up schedule. Like make sure if you don't have some kind of a system to follow up consistently, that needs to get put in place so that those clients. And so like, we went through our past member list and called every single person and made notes, so some people were like, maybe in the fall, like maybe next month, I don't know, not yet, so I just made notes like, okay, no problem. Like, I get it, it let us know if there's anything we can do in the meantime. We have online options. We'd love to get you set up on that. And I'll check in again next month. Will that be okay? Yeah. Check in next month, and then I'd send them a text message. Great to talk to you. Let's check in again next month. And so if you just start to, I always, it's, as a coach, I've always liked the idea of, like if a client is thinking about a goal or thinking about, like right now, this is kind of like our clients are thinking about the goal of getting back into like life, right? Like let alone the gym, right? And that's our job as their coach, is to like plant that. I always think like plant that little seed of like, you can do it, and then it grows over time, right? So like the first time they even like think about it, like if you mentioned to a client, like, hey, you should do, have you ever thought about doing a 5K or whatever it might be, a big goal that they think, no way. And their first initial reaction is always, I could never do that. And that's how these clients are right now. I could never do that. I could never, not right now. I can't even think about it. But you've planted that seed as their coach, that, hey, we have a safe space for you. You can trust us. When you're ready, come on back. And that seed will start to grow, over time. They'll like maybe hear about another client that came back and is loving the gym, or they'll, see what you're doing on social media, and pretty soon, that seed will keep growing and growing until eventually when you reach out, they're going to be like, yeah, you know what? I'm ready. I need to come back.
Yeah, I think that's such a great analogy, Rachel, to think of this with our kind of coaching hats on, to be like, listen, this is just someone who has a goal. They want to get back to life. They want to get back to the gym. They most likely want to get back to the same routine they had in early 2020. And your job is to, like you said, plant the seed. I think it's a great way of thinking about it, of saying, we think you can do this. Let us explain all the ways we're going to make it as easy as possible. Let us follow up with you to make sure that we hold you accountable to taking action steps to doing this goal, just like you would for anything. I think it's a beautiful way of looking at it.
Yeah, and meet them where they're at, right? Like that's our number one job as a coach, is we have to meet them where they're at. And for some of us, we might have been in our gyms working for a couple months now, and we're used to being back in life and realizing like things are good. Like we're, like, come on back. It's easy, and to them, it's like terrifying, so just, making sure you meet them where they're at.
Yeah, I think that's really smart. I think the other thing that I'm seeing that's not working, I'll add something that's not working, is I'm talking to some gym owners and they'll be like, well, I sent everyone an email that we were open and people aren't coming back. And so I just want to juxtapose that mentality with what you just said, which is, no, our job is to reach out to them consistently, be their cheerleader, help
call
them.
You guys,
call them,
can call
text
people.
them.
Like I think people are so like, they don't call people anymore. And I know we're guilty of it too, because we use Nomly, which is, I think you guys use it too. Excellent system. I highly recommend it. And it's fantastic. But the cool part is so I went through and called everybody. Like I could have delegated that to my team, but I was like, you know what, I'm going to go through and I want to talk to all of our past clients that, canceled over COVID, and like hear what's going on with them. Like, where are you and what's happening? So I had some idea, it helps like as an owner, when you get to hear what's going on, like what's more important than hearing what's going on with your past clients. It helps me with marketing, because now I'm like, I got the dialogue of what do I need to put into my next lead magnet, because I know exactly what's going through that person's mind, but yeah, sit down and call them. So I plug just this headset, plug it into my computer, open up Nomly, and one client at a time, I click on their name, I press the little phone thing, hey, it's Rachel at Results Fitness. Oh my gosh, Rachel, they're like blown away that you took time to call them. And you end up leaving a lot of voicemails, and I know it can be like defeating to, make phone calls, because a lot of times, and people might give you the, like, no, I'm not interested, or no, I don't want to come back, or, I can't believe, and some people have, their miscommunications of what happened over COVID, and there was a lot going on, whether they got billed and they did, like, well, let's talk. I want to know what's going on. Like, if you're upset about something, talk to me. So anyway, just that I would highly recommend go through and call people. And so I called people, and then immediately, like, it doesn't take long to go through, click, call, leave a message if they don't answer. And then I'd send a text that just, copy and paste,
Yep.
and I'd tweak it here and there for each client, depending on who it was, or, it was great talking to you, or, and, shoot a text over. And I got a lot of text messages back, like, thank you so much for the message. That meant so much. I'm planning to come back this summer, or,
Great.
so just,
That's huge. And just that
people.
Personalization, you're really leading from the front here, which is such a great example of that. And also just the follow-up, making it easy as possible, because everyone has a lot of life going on right now, getting back to all kinds of things, kids in school, back to work in person. And so we're just one little aspect of their lives. We got to make it easy. So I love that you are really emphasizing the follow-up there. So what a great example. Thanks for sharing that. Let's pivot, because I want to talk about something that's kind of COVID adjacent.
Pivot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's talk about something that's COVID adjacent, which is another thing that's happening. This is true at MFF as well, is that our team has changed a lot over this year. Some people just moved away and are only working with us remotely. Some people moved away and just started new chapters of their lives and are not really working with us at all anymore. So we're having to hire a lot of new folks. I'm seeing that a lot. And so, this can be COVID related or not, but, what are some of the best practices and tips that you talk about a lot when it comes to finding the right people for your team? Starting with, where do you find them and how do you make sure they're the right folks?
So I consider myself what I call a people collector.
Mm-hmm.
I'm constantly collecting people. So anywhere I'm at, I'm like, hey, that person seems really nice and like a fun person to be around. Let me get to know them. Like, let's, get to know people. And I, a lot of times will meet people out and about, or I will end up making team members at Results Fitness. And so quite honestly, we actually have not had, we shut down and had our whole team, pivoted to, we were doing Zoom meetings every day, and, getting them all on the technology. Not all of them were technology savvy, but, we made it work. And then, I kept everybody for the first 2 months. We got, the PPP. So I was like,
Yep.
Great, you guys are all still employed, let's keep going, thinking it's going to end. Like, we're going to be back in the gym like next month. Right.
Yep.
And then of course, like a couple months in, realizing we're still going. So I did have to furlough part of our team. And so, those people got furloughed. Some of them got new jobs, like you said, new jobs, some moved, some, just, moved on.
Yep.
And then, we still had our full-time team with us. And so we actually were able to keep them through, because clients kept, the 130 clients, basically I kept the 4 coaches that were still working with us full time and
Sure.
to service those clients. So I was lucky to be able to keep them. One did decide to go and become an online coach, so that was a new, job opportunity that some coaches saw, right? Where they were
Yep.
like, and, and I knew pivoting to online, like, some of our coaches are going to want to just go on their own and do this, because, we don't have the, the brick and mortar that they have to, you have the equipment and all of the stuff. So, we had one go off and do online coaching. And then as we got back to reopen, I reached out to all of the people that were furloughed and invited them back. And all of them came back. So I was excited. And it was, again, like when you think about your community and the culture that you have, the team is definitely an important part of that. And because we went into this with a really strong team, we came out of it with a really strong team. And then we set up an internship. So our way of getting new coaches is we do an internship. And so I saw over COVID that one of our clients had gotten certified, invited her to come do the internship. And then I had also put out, we have one of our colleges nearby. We have one of the professors there sends us a lot of referrals. So I let her know, like, hey, we're going to put on an internship. We're going to need some new coaches. And so we did a 6-week internship. And we got 2 people. I was like, I only want to keep it small because I don't even know what's allowed. So 2 people, so we got our client and then this girl who was just graduating from the local the university out here with her degree in, kinesiology, and was a really good fit. So the 2 of them started the 6-week internship. Now I jumped on the floor and started coaching because we were reopened. Mm-hmm. And I was tempted to just throw them in and be like, go. But I didn't. I, let them go through the full 6 weeks. I think it's important to really give your new team members the time to get trained properly, and, don't rush into anything. Hire very, very, very slowly. That's a big rule. Take your time, because I know right now it can feel like an urgent thing where you're like, get people hired now and get them in, but for now you may need to jump on the floor and start, and you may need to do the 5 a.m. shift. But remember, it's, it's short term. If, for me, we've had our business open 21 years. I hadn't been on the floor coaching for like probably 11 years. Like our clients are like, you know how to coach? I'm like, come on, people. Like, I'm like, what?
I'm not just good at spreadsheets. I can do other things.
Like,
yeah.
I hadn't been in the in the trenches because I've been working with the team, but it was fun. It was fun to get back in and coach, and and then I got to lead our team and show them, hey, like this is some of the things that I do when I coach, and so anyway, I take your time. That's what I would say, and think about always looking for people. Like, so I'm just always looking for people. Like I have somebody right now that wants to work at our front desk, and I don't have a spot for her, but I brought her in and showed her around, and I just say I'm always looking for good people. So I think it's like if you're attracting, I'm a big believer in like energy and like attracting, the right like people into your life. And I think if you figure out what you want, figure out the team that you want, and it's like if you start putting your radar out to look for those people, you'll be surprised how many people you'll end up coming across that that will be a good fit for your team. But remember to look when you're not needing them, when you're not desperate.
I think that's so smart. I love this idea. I think the phrase you used was, I'm a people collector. Mm-hmm. And I thought that's a really great phrase. I think, and so many people only look when they're desperate and need someone to start tomorrow. And looking when you don't need someone is hard to do. People it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. It's like, well, it's not a need right now, so why spend time on it? Can you just talk to me a little bit about how do you remind yourself to be looking all the time? What are the things that spark your interest? For example, I know Fisher and I do this too, and we'll be out at a restaurant and see a waiter or waitress and be like, wow, I literally can't wait to come back here because I can't wait to spend time with this waiter. They were just a blast. It felt like I knew them forever. They had such great rapport, great energy. So for me, that's an example of thing that like reminds me, oh, I should be knowing that person's name, right? I should be like, can I follow you on Instagram? And this sounds weird, but like, I'm always looking for great people. That's the kind of thing that we do that sounds slightly creepy, but it's served us well over the years. That's a great way to connect. Yeah. So, what sparks your interest in when you're out in the world looking for people?
It's just listening to them to start, like you said, and I think when you meet somebody that would be a good fit for your team, and then it's again, plant that seed, like, like, hey, have you ever thought about working at a gym, or, would you ever consider being a coach, or, and no, me, what are you talking about? Like, no, I'm too out of shape, or I'm, like, what do you, no, you used to be an athlete and you're, so then you start to like plant that seed. And then over time, like, hey, you mentioned that, maybe I will get certified.
Yeah. I think that's it.
Yeah. So I think it's just getting in the habit of it. I think as owners, one of our number one jobs is to always look for good people. And then we always are part of the marketing for our business. Like, I feel like you always have to be, hands have to be somewhat in your marketing. That's not something you can totally delegate. So good people and cultivating those good people, and then marketing. So it's just a job you got. If you aren't currently doing it, if it's not something you currently do, start to practice it.
Yeah, I think that's a great one. I love that. Next question. Let's talk about, this is a topic I've read your writing about, and I think I've even heard you speak about this, which is the idea of kind of driving your business through numbers and metrics. And so I'm sure you could talk about this topic for a long time, but give me like a high level overview. Is how would you describe your approach to running your business with numbers?
Yeah, I think, for a lot of us, we end up in the grind of the day where we're training session after training session and not really thinking about the bigger picture. And so taking time to look at the bigger picture of where you're going. And especially right now, I think setting goals can be really hard. I get it, because it's, like, I don't even know what we're able to do this month. Like, who knows? Are people going to come showing up this week? Maybe, maybe not. Yep. But, as you start getting reopened and as you start getting back on your feet, set some goal. We set a goal last month that we didn't hit. I'll be honest. Like, I put a goal out there that I was like, hey, let's try to match. I was actually trying to match last May, which I thought would be an easy, like, I was like, we should be able to get back to that. Like, we're, over time, right? Like, we've come down, and I'm like, okay, well, let's, like, we put that goal out there, we missed it, but it's okay, right? I put the goal out there, told my team, like, here's what we want to hit, gross revenue for the month. So if you don't currently have a goal of where you want to go, like, first figure out what that is. Like, what, and initially right now, as you're getting reopened, if you are just getting reopened, it may be messy, but it doesn't matter. Start doing it so that you can get better at it. So then this month, I went back to our way of always setting a goal for the month has always been the last 3 months and then the same month last year. Mm-hmm. So we take an average of those 4 numbers, and then we usually add 3 to 5% if we're trying to grow. So that's our, like, usual equation. So I went back to that equation, and it gave us a little more realistic number for this month. Of course, for last month I was like, let's go for it. I taught our team about BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goals. And so this month, really looking at, okay, last 3 months. So as a trend line, where are we at currently? And then what did we do last year at this point? And that gave us, so a goal. But then that goal, we break down into, what do we have to do today? So basically we look at, one, if you don't currently have your clients on some kind of auto pay system, I highly recommend doing that and knowing what that number is. Like, how many members do you currently have on, how much average? So what's your average membership per client? Because right now, one of the best strategies is to start to look at ways to give more value to your current clients and increase that average rate per member. Bless you.
Thank you.
Average rate per member. So whatever it is, so say it's, $200 a month right now, let's try to get it, let's try to upgrade some of them to, if they're on twice a week, then let's get them to 3 times a week. Or if they're, they don't take classes currently, let's try to, upgrade them with classes or whatever it might be. But start to look at that number, because for a lot of us, we may never get back to our 250 clients. Like, I don't know, right? Like, we're going to start growing, but what I would love is to have hit what we were hitting before with less clients, right? So clients that value what we do more, right? Clients who, then we have, a smaller number of people in our gym, because that just might be what the new climate looks like. So start looking at that number of average, how much are you making per month per member? How many members do you have? And then that, total that you already have guaranteed coming in, you're going to subtract that from your goal. And then whatever's left, you're going to divide by the number of days in the month. And you're going to figure out, today we need to make $500. And so as a team, here's what we need to do today. And what do we got happening? Okay, we have, a new strategy session coming in. If they sign up, they're going to pay our $89 initiation fee. We have, 50 clients coming in the morning. If half of them buy a shake, we're going to be doing pretty good, because our shakes are $6.25. So that'll be, do the math. So, you start to figure out, okay, well, morning team's going to do this, evening team's going to do this. And so just being proactive